morning and welcome back to Coffee Break. Today we're going to give tips on starting a book club. So first we're just going to talk about traditional book club that's a little bit more like our book club, so we know that especially. And at the end we'll kind of give tips for having a non-traditional book club.
So you want to start a book club. How do you get started?
Well, obviously you need people in your club.
Good. Find people.
A good place to start is to ask your friends.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen recommendations for like 8 to 16 people because then you have enough people if not everyone shows up. But 16 sounds a little big to me.
I was going to say, 16 sounds exhausting.
Yeah. So how many people do we have in ours?
8.
8?
Mm-hmm.
8 is a good number.
We like 8.
And if you don't have 7 friends that you think would be interested in the same kind of book club that you are interested in, just ask a couple of your friends and then ask them to ask more of their friends.
Right.
And then you can get to know new people.
So you've got some people who are interested. Then it's a good idea to have an initial meeting to kind of gather everyone together and discuss important things like where you'll meet, how often you'll meet, what kinds of books you want to read.
It's great to meet at people's homes, but if people don't really feel like they have hosting abilities or things like that, you can also meet at a coffee shop or a bookstore or a library. We go to people's homes and we all take turns hosting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun that we get to all take turns providing food and wine and stuff. It's also, I think, a pretty good idea to meet about every month. We sometimes have met shorter if we have a short book. Our next meeting is a little bit longer because we picked a long book. If you have a longer amount of time between meetings, it's fun to have a little reading party in between.
Yeah, more excuses to hang out and eat while you read a book.
Yeah.
So it's also a good idea to decide what the tone of your book club is going to be. So do you want it to be really casual and fun? Do you want it to be more academic and serious? That's a good thing to decide from the get-go as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to focus on just one genre, or do you want to bounce around?
Right.
So just get a feel for what your friends want to do.
So you've got your friends, you've got a location. How do you pick a book to read?
Well, you set aside a lot of time for your first decision. We've found that our first meeting, it took a lot of time to decide on a book, but once we had a book, our next meetings were easier to decide because we had a starting point. Mm-hmm. So I'd suggest having members bring suggestions to the first meeting. So you can say, hey, it's summer, I want to start with a light beachy read because I'm going on vacation in between our meetings. What kind of books do you have like that? And then everyone will bring forward their beachy suggestions. But it's also great to not forget about the other books that people have suggested. Mm-hmm. You can keep a list on your Facebook group or in Goodreads so that you can always revisit it.
Mm-hmm. And if you have a lot of people in your book club and it's too hard to come to a consensus, it's also a good idea to just go around and have everyone pick a new book to read for the month,
Yeah.
Or draw them out of a hat or something. There's lots of other ways you can pick a book as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got the people, you've got the book, you are sitting down to meet about it. What do you talk about?
Well, if you have more of a casual book club and you're not really sure where to start, well, you can just start with saying, what did everyone think of the book? Did you love it or hate it, and why?
It is a good idea, I think, whether it's casual or a more serious book club, to kind of write down questions as you think of them while you're reading, or like, scenes that meant a lot to you or topics that you might want to discuss as a group. It's a good idea to come prepared with those things so you've got like something to kickstart the conversation.
If you decide to have more of an academic style, it's a great idea to look up more in-depth questions for books.
So maybe like looking at, the literary devices that are at work within the book, or, other works of literature that this book reminds you of. That's a good way to kind of start talking about this critical analysis.
The main thing, though, for your book discussion is to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak and that you respect each other's opinions. Mm-hmm. Remember that not everyone is going to love the book, and even if you were the one who voted to read it, people don't hate you if they hated the book.
So if you've got some friends who you'd like to start a book club with, but they don't live in the same area as you can also start a book club online.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can make it pretty similar to a traditional book club and just decide everything, in an email thread or Facebook group or something, and you can video chat for your meetings. You can use Google Hangouts so you can all get on at the same time. But maybe, your friends are in very different time zones, and it's just really hard to have one place, a one-time meeting. Then you can just have a text discussion, or your book club can just be recommending books to each other.
Sometimes you'll read a book and you'll think, oh my gosh, my friend would love this book. And you can just send them the book and say, hey, I just read this and I would love to discuss this with you. Let me know when you get done with it and we can talk about it. So there's lots of different ways to have a book club, even in the online format.
Right.
There's lots of ways to make it work. And also what can be fun is starting a parent-child book club. There's lots of mother-daughter book clubs out there. But yeah, me and my parents will read the same books and everything just because I miss them, and it's nice to be able to read the same books that they're reading and talk about it when I see them next,
No matter what kind of book club you have, whether it's in person or online, as long as you have fun, read, and make new friends, I think you can call it a success.
That's great. That's like the fundamentals of book club. There you go. There are hard and fast rules, and it's everything Anna says. But if you have some other book club tips or ideas or things that you like that work for you, feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to hear how you make your book club work.
Well, good luck starting your own book club. Happy reading, and we'll see you next week.
I don't know.
You've got exactly 8 friends in your book club now.
You just have exactly 8 friends.
Our tips are just going to be how to have our book club.
How to make your book club identical to ours.